Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today we're back on with the Compaq Proline. I'm waiting for a couple of bits for the S4000 project to come in that I've ordered, so I'll postpone the next video on that and we'll get back with the Compaq Proline. Basically what I want to do in this video is address the battery backup issue. As you know from when I've been playing with this in the past, the backup batteries failed in it. It's a, I believe it's a DR32 or a DL30. It's a D something 32 anyway, soldered to the motherboard. Now I've done a bit of research and it's very similar to a CR32. I believe the difference is that it is a DR32. I'm pretty sure. We'll see anyway when we get inside it and get the motherboard out. I believe the only real difference is the DR has a slightly lower capacity, but its shelf life's greater, so it's good for very long term use at a very low current, as whereas CR32 can give a higher current, but it's not got quite the stability in its shelf life. But this is a hobby computer, that doesn't really matter. So what my concern was that battery was actually rechargeable, and it gets trickle charged back by the motherboard, and obviously if we put a CR32 in there, bad things would happen unless we put a protection diode in. It's not, it doesn't recharge it. Once that battery is flat, then you know it's flat, you replace it. I'm pretty sure what Compaq was thinking by going with that DR battery was it would last the life of the computer. I'm sure they were expecting these to perhaps last maybe 5 years or so before they were replaced. And I mean, this thing's what, from 1992. We're in 2022 and we're still playing about with this stuff. So essentially, you know, that's the where we're going. So I'll get the camera set back up. We'll get this thing totally apart. We'll get the motherboard out of it. We're going to have a bit of a clean and we'll have a good inspect around the motherboard as well. I don't think there's any suspect caps in this, but we will have a good check over the motherboard, make sure there isn't anything that's going to cause us trouble in the future. And then we'll have a look at sorting the battery back out issue out. What I'm also going to do in this video, as a bit of a side thing, is I'm going to change out the sound card that I've got in this. This has got, I mean, it is an MS-DOS compatible sound card. I can't quite remember off the top of my head what it is, but I did have a look, I did some research online on it. According to a few posts on Vogons, it's actually quite a reasonably highly regarded DOS sound card. It has reasonable DOS compatibility. The problem I found with it is it's no jumpers on the card. You configure the card using software. I did find a utility on the hard drive to do that, but I don't think it's for that sound card, and try as I might, I cannot actually find the software to configure it, which means I can't get it to work properly in MS-DOS. It works perfectly in Windows 98 and sounds great, but I can't get it to work at the moment anyway properly in MS-DOS, and it's a bit new for this computer. It's from about 1996. I've got the Aztec card that I did have in my DAC 486. Now I think that would be a better match, and as I want to make this into a retro gaming computer, I think that card will probably be a better match. What it'll also allow us to do somewhere, and I'm not sure where, I'm pretty certain I've still got an old 2-speed proprietary CD-ROM drive. That Aztec sound card's got all the interfaces for all the old proprietary CD-ROMs on it. So it would be nice to have this with a period correct CD-ROM drive, period correct sound card in it. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing, because I mean, a 40-speed CD drive, it might even be a CD writer, I can't remember. No, it's just a 44-speed CD-ROM drive, and that newer sound card, you know, they're more for like a Windows 98 build. This is running Windows 98, but you know, like a Pentium Windows 98 kind of system, as where this I want a bit Windows 3.1 MS-DOS, them kind of games on it. So anyway, I'll get the camera repositioned and we'll crack into that motherboard. Right, okay, there we go. All I've done is taken the top cover off it, so we'll go through actually disassembling this thing between us, because it actually looks fairly involved. There's quite a bit involved in actually getting this main board out of here. But it does give us the opportunity to clean the case, because there is a fair bit of dust and debris in here as well. So let's make a start. I think this might be quite a long video, you know. Right, that's the first piece out. Now this is the sound card that I want to replace. Let's take the audio header off there. So there's nothing wrong with this sound card, and it will go in another system. It would be probably more suited to a Pentium build, to be honest. I've got other systems I want to fiddle about with in the future. So in fact, it does actually have a couple of jumpers on it, but from all the information I can find, like I said, you actually configure the IRQs, the DMA, things like that. Actually using software, which is, like I said, that's one of the problems with it. I cannot find the exact correct software for this to actually configure it. This is what I have got on that hard drive. It recognises the card, but it doesn't seem to actually work and configure it correctly. Under Windows 98, it works absolutely fine. It's a, for anyone that's interested, it's in ATC 6631. And so it is mentioned on Vogons, and it is apparently, if you can get it working, it's not a bad sound card. One thing though, I mean, it doesn't. It's got one of these integrated chips that's basically got the OPL chip and everything in that one chip to give you. I think it's Sound Blaster 2.0 compatible, so I think it's a stereo one. The Aztec I've got isn't, it's just Sound Blaster compatible, but that really does not matter. We'll get the riser out of the way. There we go. That's quite stiff in its slot. There we go. That's free. So far I've not seen any nasty surface mount capacitors which could cause us issues on the actual main board. In fact, everything's in really nice clean condition. A little bit of dust, but even that, there's not a huge amount of dust in here. There's just a little bit of dust. We may actually get really lucky and not have to do too much disassembly to get that main board out of here. We will disconnect the disk drive and the hard disk. The disk drive out. That's the hard disk out. We've got power connectors here. Whenever you work on an AT system, always remember when you're pulling the power off, it's black to black when you're putting them back in. Never put the red in the middle. So they always connect like that. And your grounds there. This is if it's using the AT standard, are always in the centre there. Never reconnect it like that, because bad things will happen to your computer. Ask me how I know that from my youth. Right, we'll take the hard drive out. It is interesting that this thing can actually recognise this is it a 1.7 gig hard drive. In fact, I can leave that connected. We can disconnect that there. It only has the one ID channel, so we'll have to disconnect that. We'll pull the hard drive out just to make life a little bit easier. There we go. Put that to one side. We can then get that out of the way. We've got one final connection down here which should just pull off, and that's just for the LEDs on the front of the there we go, on the front of the case. Right, now, are we going to have to remove all those things, or is that going to come out as one piece? That's all going to come out as one piece. That's really nicely designed by Compaq. So we take, because you can tell, I used to work on these all the time back in the late 90s, but it's many years since I did. Right, that out of there. And I believe all we need to do now is take these few screws out. There's one there, one over at the back there, one there, and we should be able to lift the entire motherboard out of the case. So, one here. One there. One near the battery connector there. This is rather stiff. Out it comes. And there's one behind the RAM here. Now I've just noticed this uses those plastic SIM slots, those plastic 72-pin SIM slots. I'm not going to try and take that RAM out unless I really have to. I probably will actually downgrade the RAM on this because it's going to be a Windows 3.1 and MS-DOS machine. It does not need 40 odd megabytes of RAM. 8 will be more than enough. It's just a waste, so I probably will take that 32 meg SIM out of there. But we can now withdraw the main board. We will get the case out of the way. Let me actually pull the case completely off the desk. There we go. That can go on the floor, out of the way. Let me get you down so you can see that properly. Can you see that okay? Well, people keep complaining about my videos being too dark, but I'm trying to see how I can make them any brighter. I've got quite a few lights in here now. Let me just see if I can bring this this film light a bit closer. There we go. Right, is that better for you? Actually, that is a lot better. I can just see on the viewfinder of the camera that actually does look a lot better. Right, so there's our main board, and that's the battery in question. That's what we want to. That's what we need to remove and replace. Is my desoldering? No, it's not plugged in yet. I'll have to get an IEC for that. Actually, we don't really need it to take a battery like that off. We should just be able to get that off quite easily. Yeah, this is a BR23 39, I think, from what I could see there. We're just going to replace it, like I said, with a CR32. It's a slightly smaller battery, but it should suffice. It's still a 3-volt lithium cell, so it shouldn't be a problem. In fact, let's see if we can just heat up the thing and pull them out. Let's have a go. Clean that off. Add some fresh solder to the tabs of the battery. That is old solder. Add a little bit of fresh, it will help it just come off. Let's try easing the battery out with yeah, that's going to come out fairly easy. I'm being ever so gentle and just walking the battery, the pins from the battery out. There we go. So them are out now. If we just heat that up. give it a quick wiggle. There's the battery out. That's the old battery out, as we can see. So the 2 pins there on the battery are the positive, and the single pin, which is that one there, is the negative. And we'll turn it over. In fact, I'm just going to get a little bit of isopropyl and just give that a quick wipe over, just clean it up, and we will clean the whole board, but seeing as I'm going to be soldering in there, where are my Q-tips? You know, I've started to organise in here now and I still can't find anything. I don't know if I've done with my Q-tips. No, they're not in there. They're not in there. Oh, they're there. Yeah, my heat shrink. Sorry about that, folks. Just needs to get my my Q-tips. There we go. Get some isopropyl. We'll just have a bit of a clean up where we're going to work. In fact, like I said, it's not terrible, this board. It has just got a basic layer of dust on it. We'll go over and we'll clean the whole board, but for now I just want to clean around where I'm working, just make life a bit easier for us, really. Okay, there we go. In fact, that has been designed for numerous different battery configurations there. Right, and now you can buy CR32 holders brand new, but I can be considered a little bit of a cheapskate. And I've got a scrap, I think it's Pentium 4 or something, I know it doesn't work, and instead of heat shrink compounds, someone actually glued the heatsink and fan on with don't know, some kind of like instant grab adhesive or something like that, and I have tried and I cannot get that off there. Like I said, it doesn't work anyway, I presume it fried, but we will salvage that CR32 holder from it. So again, we should just be able to heat that up and just pull this out. However, that's the point. This is going to be lead-free solder, so this might actually be a little bit trickier to get out than that one was to remove the original battery. Because lead-free has a higher melting point than leaded solder. But if we add leaded solder to lead-free solder, it lowers the melting point and allows us to take it out easily. He says. There we go. There we go, that's salvaged. I can go back in my scrap bin, because they do come in handy, you know, literally for doing things like that, for salvaging holders and little bits and bats off. I never throw modern motherboards away, even though if they are pretty much useless, because there are still useful bits we can salvage off them for repair of the old stuff. Okay, there we go. Now we've got to remember that's positive on that side, the spring on the bottom's negative. We need to figure out how it is going to fit. Oh, look at that, it's going to line up just nice. What we will have to do is we'll have to clear that hole there next to the hole that we did have. Where is my solder sucker? There's no point heating the desoldering station up to one little hole. Just bear with me a second, folks. I just need to go and find my desolder pump. Okay, we're back, and I'd left it upstairs in one of my drawers. I'd never bothered bringing it down. Anyway, all we need to do is unblock this hole here, I think. Nearly. In fact, we'll just add a bit of fresh solder to that, and then we should be able to get it to easily unblock. There we go. That's better. Now let's see. Let's clean my iron off. Let's see if we can get that to unblock. Nearly. Give it a try from the other side. Sometimes it does take a few attempts. There must be an internal ground plane on this. Yeah, because this is the ground connection, so we must have an internal ground plane in there. We might even have to heat up the hot air rework. Give it a little bit of time. Yeah, that one's being a bit of a bugger. We've definitely got an internal ground plane there though, so this is the multi-layer board, which would have been quite expensive for 1992. There we go. We got you. Took a little bit, but we got you. In fact, we'll just try doing a little bit more on that from the other side, but we have got a hole through there now. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to be a bit persistent and just keep... Oops. Keep trying, and you will get it in the end. There we go. Let's see if we can get that in now. Just not quite going through though. Let's get that one in. What we can probably do is just hold it, just warm it up with the iron. See if we can just help, just get that to come through. This one's being particularly tricky. It is one of the problems when you get, like I said, an internal ground plane. It's basically sucking all the heat you're applying away. I think I'm going to have to heat up the desoldering pump, the electric desoldering pump, so just bear with me a second, we'll get that out. Okay, never mind. That's just bloody typical that. I stopped recording, I thought I'll give it one more try. Give it one more try, and it cleared first time, so I thought, oh great, I pressed record on the camera, carried on, and it didn't start bloody recording, did it? Anyway, you've not missed much. It cleared out that hole, like I said, as soon as I switched the camera off, next click of this I thought I'll give it one last try. One last click, it just straight out, perfectly clear hole. All I've done is I've soldered that first connection there into place. That's all you've missed. That's still free there. So all we need to do, I've pushed the holder into place. We will just add some solder there. We don't need, fortunately, all these connections, because it's been designed to use I don't know how many different types and styles of battery. I think a CR32 was probably one of the things it was actually designed to use. So we've got a connection there for the positive, there for the positive, there for the positive. And then for the negative, we've got a choice of there, and I believe even that one might be a negative connection as well. So I'll just reinforce that a little bit. There we go. And there is our CR32 holder, nice and flat. And it does actually, there is actually an outline on the board around there, so I do believe it was actually designed with a CR32 in mind. Unfortunately, I don't have any brand new CR32s. I've just ordered some. I've just ordered another pack of 10. Rather embarrassing of me. I've just pulled this one off that scrap board. I tested it. It's just showing around about 2.5 volts, so it should do for the time being. But as soon as the new one comes, I will put a brand new one in here. So that slides in there. That way around, sorry. And clicks down in place. So there we go. That's the backup battery sorted out. I am really pleased to say I cannot spot any of the offending surface mount electrolytic capacitors on here. I have just spotted something though, which I find quite interesting. There's actually, let me see if I can zoom you in so you can see this. And the thing is that the IDE was working. The IDE is working fine, and I don't think I've just done it taking this out, but there's actually a bent pin there on the IDE connector. Let's just straighten that up. Like I say, I don't think I've done that. I think that's been done a long time ago. Let's straighten that pin up. I'm guessing it's just a ground pin, and obviously it'll work without it, but let's have it back where it should be. We also have a connection there for an external battery. So, you know, we could have, instead of doing what we did and putting that CR2032 holder in, we could have used an external battery on there, a 3-volt external battery. But anyway, that's all sorted now. Let me get you out again. There we go. You can see a bit better now. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give the board a jolly good clean while we've got it out like this, because it is pretty dirty. It's not filthy. I've seen far worse motherboards, especially ones that have been used in industrial applications and in garages and factories and things. But even so, it is pretty fluffy and mucky. So I'm just going to spend half an hour now. Don't worry, I won't record it all, but I'm just going to spend half an hour now basically just getting all the grot and all the muck and rubbish off the board and making it look as presentable as we can, really. And really nice to see that we haven't got any of those troublesome electrolytic capacitors on here. In fact, even the ones that we did find in the disk drive, amazingly on this, were okay. Anyway, I'm going to pause the video. I'll get the rest of this cleaned up, and then we'll get it back in the computer, and we'll see about swapping that sound card out. So, back in a sec. Okay, there we go. As you can see, it's much cleaner now. I'm not going absolutely mad with it, but give you an idea. Got all those, both sides. So there were a fair bit of muck on there, and essentially what I do, we use the isoprop, get that nice and wet with the isoprop, give it a scrub over to loosen everything. then go in with the Q-tips just to clean it up and get rid of all the actual muck and rubbish. And doing it that way, they come up fairly well. I have seen people wash these in the sink and then dry them. That's absolutely fine. And if it's really, really, really dirty, that might be all you can do. I've even done it myself a few times. But in this instance, all there was some light surface dust. I mean, this has been an office computer or something like that back in the past. So it has cleaned up really, really quite nicely. Anyway, what I'll do now, I'll get the case back in. I'll get all this thrown back in the case, so you don't need to see me do that, because it's basically exact just reversal of taking the thing out. And then once I've got it back in the case, we'll have a look at putting that alternative sound card in, and we'll have a listen, see how that sounds like. So, back in a sec. Okay, and there we go. Everything is back together as it was. So let's get the new. I'm going to say new. Like I said, this has been in a number of computers. This is a card I've owned since back in the 90s. But this is an Aztec, basically Sound Blaster clone. It's quite a nice Sound Blaster clone. It uses the Crystal audio chipset. Onboard amplifier. It can just drive some passive speakers, or obviously it can drive active speakers as well. But the nice thing about it is, actually, it has all the different CD-ROM interfaces that you'll come across. So we've got IDE. It actually has an IDE channel on it. We've got the Sony interface, we've got the Mitsumi interface, and we've got the Panasonic interface there. So, like I said, I know somewhere in amongst all my collection of CD-ROM drives, I've got at least one of the old proprietary CD-ROM drives, which I think it might be a Panasonic interface actually, or a Sony. But it means that we could put something that's, like I said, more of the age of this computer. I mean, what age is this sound card? Let's have a quick look. We should be able to figure out roughly what age this sound card is. If we can see a date code on one of the ICs, actually. I can't actually spot anything that gives us an exact date on this. But I would expect it's earlier than the card that we're taking out anyway. Yeah, I'm struggling to see an IC with a date I can actually... 94. Yeah, I think it's around. Let's have a look there. There's an OPL chip there. That is 94. Yeah, so this is from. I think the old card. This one is from. Was it about 96? I think. Yeah, I believe this card's from like 96 or 97. Like I say, it's a little bit new for this system, really. This is more. In fact, I mean, that's a fairly good. What would have happened to a computer like this? It would have not originally been a computer that would have been used in the home. This is probably originally an office computer, and then they got sold off. This is what I used to do back in the 90s. I used to buy office systems and repurpose them. I had a CD-ROM drive, I had a sound card, a bit more RAM, and sell them as starter home computers. So it could very well, I mean, a 94 sound card, 92 computer, the computer was 2 years old, it got sold on the second-hand market, and this is the kind of thing that would have probably been put into it. So we will put this earlier Aztec sound card in, and I know this sound card works really, really well with MS-DOS. That's one of the main reasons why I want to really go with this card over that card. I mean, we will look at that other card in the future, and we might find a possibility of finding the configuration utility for it. Then we could set it up and actually see what it's like. But if we need a sound card to run on a Windows 98 system, it's going to be a really good card to use, because it did work really nicely in Windows 98. So that's basically it. We've got the sound card replaced. Everything else is connected back up in this. So I'll get the case back on it. I'll get it connected up to a monitor and some speakers. And we'll see if we've fixed the issue with the battery. And we'll see if we can actually perhaps play some Doom and play some other games with a working sound card. So back very shortly. Okay, and there we go. That should be everything set up. I will freely admit I have not tried it yet, so let's see what happens. Yeah, it would really help if I plug that last wire in there. There we go. Right. Shall we say take two? Just push that back a little bit. There we are. Okay. Now let's give it a try. That's more like it. Hopefully you can see the top of the screen there. Now the monitor has powered up. Let's hopefully we're going to get something on screen in a second. There we go. Excellent. It's obviously going to come up with an error because we actually took the battery backup out. There we go. So let's run setup again. Hopefully this should be the last time we'll have to run setup. So obviously we're in England. Date. Let's try the date. Someone said they didn't think this thing was Millennium compliant, but I don't know. What's the date today? I think it's about the... Is it the 17th? Yeah, it's the 17th. Enter, hang on. Well, I can sort that out at another time anyway. 1.44 meg, 3.5 inch. Drive B not installed. Disk writer enabled. Okay. Okay. Right, okay. So we can always sort that at a later date. It's found the hard drive. It's found. Yeah, I think everything should be right there. Let's press F3. Exit and save changes. Now, with any luck, it should boot this time. It might complain about the hard drive and have to go back in and just do another little bit quick bit of a setup. I believe I had to do that last time, but what we want to do is see if we can get this thing so it boots, then turn it off and see if it'll retain them settings. Yeah, this is what we had last time. So if we hit the F10 key, F4, I think it is. Yeah. Fixed disk drives. You see everything in there seems okay. Escape. I don't know why why it did it this time, but last time I was fiddling about with this. I had to basically go back into here. In fact, while we're in here, let's set that date and time, shall we? So that is going to be the first. So how do you change that now? Oh, there we are. I think it's the 16th today. Alright, so it isn't Millennium compliant, I don't think, so it only goes up to 2000, is it? No. The first to the 16th, well, the 16th for the first 22 seem we're in the UK. What time is it now? It's about 4:30, so that's 16. 16:30. I'm not bothered about the seconds. Right. Escape that. F3. Save and exit. Right. Hopefully this time the hard drive will work. fingers crossed it's going to try and boot from the hard drive this time. And there we go. Now I don't know why it does that. Every time I've tried to work on this computer and I've had to reset the BIOS, it's done that. Excellent. So we've got the mouse set up on COM 1. So the one thing I really want to see is, does that sound? Can we now play Doom with sound? So let's. That's the most important thing. Is can we play Doom with full Sound Blaster support? So let's go CD games, CD Doom, setup. Right. Select music card. We can select that as a Sound Blaster. 220, select effects card, Sound Blaster, 220, I think that's right. OK. Save settings and launch Doom. Let's see if we actually get some audio on Doom this time. There we go, that's better. Right, options. Can we go up on sound volume? Right, let's see. Okay, so we've got music this time, but we haven't got any effects. But last time I think we had effects, but no music, didn't we? When we was trying with the other sound card. Let's just go back in. Right, let's set up again. So we know that the music card's working. Sound effects card. Now that should be working, shouldn't it? 220. I wonder if that should be that. Number of digital channels. Oh, we'll leave it at 1. It should be 4 though, shouldn't it? Let's see if that'll change it. I may have to do a little bit of fiddling about with this just to get the sound effects to work. Let's have a listen. Have we got anything this time? No, we've still not got sound effects. So we'll look at that anyway. But let us try. What was it last time that we was playing about with and it crashed the computer? It was Wolfenstein 3D, weren't it? Which should be an ad lib, basically. It's Wolfenstein. Ah, so it's found it's a Sound Blaster there. So let's see if this works. That's better. Can you all hear that? Let me see if I can put the volume up a bit. That sounds a lot better. Yeah, so we've got Sound Blaster, we've got Sound Effects Adlib Sound Blaster, and the digitalised sound is from Sound Blaster. Excellent. Oh yeah, then we've got music, yeah, Sound Blaster. Excellent, new game. That sounds a lot better now. I mean, this computer is a little bit overkill for this game. Oh, it's crashed. Oh, isn't that interesting? This is what happened last time I was messing about with it, and I thought it was the sound card. So that's something we're going to have to look into. That Wolfenstein seems to crash the computer. Now I'm wondering if it's the fact the speed this thing's running to and the extra RAM and things that are actually causing it. It'd be interesting to know if we downgrade this computer, take some of the RAM out of it and put a slower processor in it, where the games like this actually might run better and not crash. But this is a good point for us to do a switch off and see if it actually is going to power back up and it saved the BIOS settings. So rather than doing, I don't even know whether a Control-Alt-Delete, doing a Control-Alt-Delete. So we'll switch off, let everything shut down, switch back on. And here it is. This is the moment of the truth. Is it going to have actually saved those BIOS settings? I said that battery isn't perfect that I put in there. It is a used battery, but it's showing, you know, around the 3.5 volts mark, so it should be okay for it. Here we know. If it, like I said, if it fires back up and it saved all its settings, we know we've got a success. There we are. No errors, no memory errors. It's fired back up. So even though, like I said, we've used a used battery, and I do have some good ones on the way, but we have replaced that. What is it now? It is a BR2330 with a CR2032, and that seems to work absolutely fine. And it does mean now for the future, there's no desoldering involved. If we need to replace the battery, it's just pop that CR32 out and pop a new one in. So there, I'm quite happy with that. Actually, obviously we've got some more work to do on this computer. I still need to sort out figure out the configuration on that new sound card so we can get to actually play the sound effects in Doom. And I need to look at some of the other software on here and actually decide exactly what I'm going to keep on the computer, what I'm going to take off the computer. Look at that CD-ROM drive, but first thing I've got to do with that is actually find that old dual-speed CD-ROM drive that I've got. It will be in somewhere in some of my stuff anyway. So there will be another video coming up on this computer and playing about with this and doing some other things with it, but hopefully the next one. The next video is either going to be back on with the ever-ready Sky Baron radio. I'm just waiting on some wood stain to arrive and it hasn't arrived yet. Or it'll be back on with converting the S4000 into the desk. It'll be doing something with the monitors in there. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little video looking at the Compaq Proline 486. Looks like we've made some progress on this. So thanks for watching and goodbye.